This is an attraction that hasn't been around for probably a good 25 years. This is the Wrestling Bear, Terrible Ted, and this looks like it's Buffalo, New York. That's his trainer, Gene Dubois. And he's actually going to wrestle his trainer. Wrestling Bears were they were a real big attraction, I guess, in the 60s and probably the early 70s, and then
late 70s, as a matter of fact, as late as the late 70s, early 80s in Tennessee. Nick Goulas in Tennessee used to love to use Wrestling Bears, but in this case, Gene Dubois, the Bears trainer, is going to wrestle the Bear, whereas in a lot of the southern circuits, the Bear was always used to wrestle either maybe the most hated wrestling manager or one of the top heels.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of times the manager. There's a problem, of course, with wrestling the Bear. If you think about sports entertainment and what wrestling is, and it's really hard to teach a bear to do a spectacular ring entrance, do good high spots, and I mean, so this is a different form of a match than you're normally used to.
Well, you'll notice also the Bear has a muzzle. There's obviously a really good reason for that because
guys are scared to wrestle bears for.
Oh well, even if you train a bear, and even if you teach a bear to wrestle, and even if a bear is tamed and domesticated, it still has its cranky points, especially if it's a female bear during certain times of the month, or if it's supposed to be hibernating during certain times of the year. But these bears are so strong. If he wanted to, he could take that muzzle and hit you one time in the stomach or in the chest with that big nose and break every rib in your body. So these bears are dangerous.
They're very dangerous, and one of the reasons why they don't have it is because many of the bear trainers, the bears have hurt people. I mean, David McKigney's wife was killed.
Yeah, the Canadian Wildman
bears.
Who trained bears for a long time in Canada. His wife was killed by the bear, and as well, there's been instances where the bears would get aggravated by flashes of cameras or something that would happen. It would come over the top rope and go out into the crowd, which generally caused the consternation you would imagine when a 600 or 800 pound bear goes flying through ringside wrestling seats. People generally scurry.
Luckily, this bear was trained in amateur wrestling and not professional wrestling, so he's knowing not to break too many rules or get too vicious. He knows his limitations. But some of those bears, when they're if you by accident got them riled up, I mean it could be a really scary situation. I once saw a match this was not a match. What am I saying? This was an incident in Canada where they brought Yoshiaki Fujiwara, from Japan, since he was like this great shooter, and they had a real wild bear. They had a bear that was not trained to wrestle, and he jumped in this pen that this very nasty bear was in, and I mean the bear would just growl at him and things like that. It was like, I mean, he is the bravest man that I've ever seen just to go in the pen, and then the bear would look at him and just see him as like this competing animal and just charge at him. And I mean, knocked him silly. Oh my God, the bear didn't realize that his opponent, the referee, was not his opponent. I think.
Well, then you've also got to realize, the bear has no shoulders, so how are you going to pin the bear? That's another problem. Bobby Eaton wrestled a bear one time in his life. Bobby Eaton is scared to death of big dogs, but he had to wrestle a bear, and the bear was being really stiff with him.
No, check. He's trying to get the referee to wrestle a bear, which is probably pretty smart.
And the referee's smart enough not to. And you know how big Bobby Eaton's fists are. He drew back and just drilled the bear in between the eyes with a right hand as hard as he could.
I think that would be a dumb idea.
The bear lightened up. The bear lightened up after that. He started working with him. But that's a true story. And Jerry Lawler wrestled a bear one time, and it was the only time that I can remember. He's going to try to pin him, but wait a minute. The only time I can remember the bear won a match by disqualification, Lawler pulled out a chain and hit the bear with a chain and was disqualified.
Oh my God. Well, I have seen matches where the bear has won by countout when the guy just goes, okay, you're just not paying me enough, and I'm leaving. In fact, I saw Superstar Billy Graham did that once I think it was in one of the cities in the Bay Area. I don't think it was San Francisco. And it was just he was attempting to have a match with a bear, and it was just sort of like, I think the bear's muzzle actually got off, and it was like, okay, I'm losing this match by countout.
The referee was out of the ring there, which I think is the best place for the referee to be in a match like this. I remember Nick Adams, who used to train bear named Gentleman Ben,
and also Terrible Ted,
Terrible Ted would often give the bear a Coke that he would sit up and he would drink out of a bottle after the match.
That's right. I remember that. I remember that thing with the bear sitting there in the ring, and it was.
One time he wouldn't leave the ring because he wanted more Cokes. They didn't have any more Cokes in bottles. He didn't know how to drink out of a cup, and it was a slightly nasty scene because the bear wouldn't leave and they couldn't make him.
Oh. Probably held up the show.
Oh, wait a minute. I
Oh.
think that's
He pinned the referee.
that would appear to be the end of the match because bears don't know the rules very well. But unfortunately,
This one did though.
this one was a good flying bear. I mean, a good flying mare artist.
Yeah.
But whether you beat the opponent or you beat the referee, the point is, it was a great attraction in the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s
Well,
to see
he's still wrestling Gene Dubois.
to see the wrestling bear.
It was a good attraction, though. I remember, the crowds were up when the bear would come. Roy Shires used to bring the bear into San Francisco, and that bear knows to lay down a little bit. Now, with Fujiwara, of course, he was a master of submissions, and somehow or other, the bear was very good at defending submissions, so Fujiwara did not get a chance to utilize any of those holds he knows.
How would the bear tap, I wonder?
I think he would just...
With his forelegs or his back legs?
I think that if you got a submission on him, I think he would, bite your arm off, so... maybe he wouldn't tap.
Then there's a problem also
There's a single leg. That poor referee doesn't know what's going on.
There was a female wrestling bear that used to compete, and I'm trying to remember, even though it was given a male name, it was a female bear. And the female bear would sometimes take an amorous liking to some of its opponents and roll its opponents up underneath it and begin
Oh boy.
frantic motions, which the opponents would not appreciate very much.
Yeah. Now, see, that bear did a pretty good spot. That's actually a better wrestler than Hulk Hogan, though.
Well, the bear has exhibited more moves in this match so far than Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash put together. And actually, the bear
Not only that, the bear sells better.
yes, and is willing to go down. And the bear has more hair than Hogan, and is not as gray as Nash.
I think he's got him pinned now, though. The referee just doesn't want to count. The referee's got the chain. The referee's going to pull the bear off. Now
Wait a minute.
I don't know about that one. I don't know if I would do... Oh! Bear took down the referee again.
The bear seems to be an unstoppable force.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that, if Jim Herd had been around in the 50s, he would have thought of this instead of the hunchbacks and the ding-dongs.
Well, actually, he did. But he used them in ring entrances. He just didn't have them wrestle. With Matt Bourne. Remember when Matt Bourne, it was Big Josh?
That's
and he
true.
came out with the two dancing bears, which, by the way, was the same night that Kevin Nash debuted as Oz.
So they could have saved some money. They could have had Kevin Nash impersonate one of the bears. But he can't dance as well as wrestle.
But I'm sure he can drink Coke, though.
I'm sure he can do a lot of things with Coke. You could drink it, you could pour it over your head, you could do all sorts of things.
He took care of Teddy Thomas.